For the next hour, the green and gold are in charge. Welcome to In the Huddle on the Woodward Radio Network. In the Huddle is brought to you by Mole Lake Casino Lodge and Conference Center. Now, here's Bill Scott and Green Bay defensive lineman BJ Raji.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tanner's and Kimberly, along with Pro Bowler BJ Raji. Next to me, that has a pretty good ring to it, doesn't it?
Definitely. It's definitely a great honor to receive that, especially being in this league and knowing the type of talent that's around the front areas of this league, and just to be named to one. And, my second year starting is definitely an honor.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the Pro Bowl, your selection, how it came down, and all that a little bit later on here in the program. But the Packers finished the regular season 15-1, 6-0 in the division. First time that the Packers have ever been perfect in the division since divisional play started back in 1967. I know Mike McCarthy, you had your certain goals that were set out at the beginning of the season, and that wasn't necessarily one of them, but once it became evident that it was out there, I think the coach made that another goal for your team last week, didn't he?
Definitely. He made it very clear that he wanted to sweep the division. It's obviously been a year where we've been setting all types of records, and that's one that he felt that was dear and that was important. And I think I agree with him that anytime you have a chance to be a division opponent, you have to go for it. Those are really your rivals year in and year out. And like you said, once it was evident, Coach told us, and we're all up for it.
How about Matt Flynn?
Yes. Man, I knew Matt could play, but to think he could go out and have a performance like that against a team that's going to be playing next weekend, it's not talking about the bottom half of the league. This is a playoff team, and for him to go out and perform like that, I think was outstanding.
480 yards and 6 touchdowns, which both are franchise records. And I wonder what Aaron Rodgers was thinking, because he's battled through everything, the Favre stuff, and
right.
and then this backup walks on the field on a Sunday and sets a couple of franchise marks.
Yeah, I'm sure Aaron was real happy for him. Those guys are real close. Anytime, I'm sure they're friends outside of our job. But I think ultimately, when a guy at your position, a friend of yours, is having success, I think you can't help but be happy for him. Matt, it's been a long time coming for him. And he had a good performance last season, if you recall, in the Patriots game. I think he had a pretty good game. We almost had a chance to win that, and for him to come back and his second start and play great like that, I'm happy for him.
Well, he definitely made himself some money.
Definitely, either here or somewhere else.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's here, but I can see him being in the same mold of like a Matt Castle. You have a few starts and do well, and next thing you know, you're a starter for somebody.
Well, the great thing about it is he is even though he only has 2 starts under his belt, he's more ready-made, and he comes under a system where you could definitely say Mike McCarthy is a quarterback developer. I mean, he's developed some of the great quarterbacks in this league, including Aaron Rodgers, including Brett Favre prior to, and so now Matt Flynn's been under his tutelage for 4 years. And there's teams that are looking for a quarterback out there. Do you really want to take, unless you're holding the first pick in the draft, and you want to take Andrew Luck out of Stanford or maybe 1 or 2 other guys, do you really want to take a shot on somebody that has not developed, played a snap, seen anything about the NFL? Or you see this guy for the Green Bay Packers who's a free agent. Yeah, it's going to cost you more money to sign him than it would a draft pick, but he's ready-made.
Exactly. I think ultimately, if you look at the numbers with first-round draft picks at quarterback, the success rate is not real high. I'm pardon some few guys like Aaron and a few guys, but so I feel right along with you. If I'm a decision maker or GM, I'm going after somebody that I know has put it on film that he can make plays and help us win games and throw for a lot of yardage, as opposed to someone that I'm hoping that can do that.
Well, the Packers, as we thought they would rested some of their top players, and what it did was not only won you a football game. I mean, the other guys that stepped in were able to go, which is got to be a great feeling for you guys to be able to, not be without Woodson and Matthews and Aaron Rodgers and Balaga sat out and Greg Jennings and go win that football game and know that when you play a week and a half from now in the playoffs that you're going to be totally healthy.
Definitely. It's only my third year in the league, but for me personally, you don't get too many opportunities to play a playoff team before the playoffs. So, to play a playoff team without any elimination in the works, and I think that was great for us. Our best 4 players weren't playing, so a lot of the guys had to step up. I think ultimately it's kind of like a prelude to the playoffs. I'm sold out crowd as usual. The fans were jacked up. It was an early game, but everyone was into it, and we played a good team, and it came down to the wire, and Matt Flynn helped us out.
I know the wind didn't turn out to be as strong as it was advertised by the weather forecasters. That usually happens. Weather forecasters are hardly ever right. But I say that seriously, with all seriousness. But did you think when you stepped on that field, it was still a pretty windy day, that there would be combined over 1,000 yards of offense and nearly 1,000 in passing yardage?
I knew we like to throw the ball, and from playing these guys the first time, these guys' running game isn't what they like it to be. Right. So I knew they would come out trying to run the ball. Pass the ball. Mm-hmm. Especially when you have Calvin Johnson, I'll throw it every play if I had him. But I didn't anticipate that kind of yardage being given up. But saying coaches coach and players play.
6-0. We talked about the 6-0 record. Packers led the league in scoring, second highest total ever, 560 points. New England at 589 back in 2007. So there's so many records. You could talk about records till you're blue in the face with how everything has transpired. Jordy Nelson, 15. He had 5 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks, 3 on Sunday. Has 15 for the season, and only Sterling Sharp and the late great Don Hudson had more touchdown catches in a season than Jordy Nelson.
That's outstanding, man. Outstanding. Especially, it just shows you, especially, and most Packer fans know our situation. Jordy is a great player, but Greg Jennings is our feature receiver. He's our perennial Pro Bowler. So for Jordy to have that type of success, that means he's capitalizing on his opportunities. Because balls are going elsewhere. And I think that for him to come out and splash on the scene the way he has this season, it's remarkable for him. It's a shame that he didn't make the Pro Bowl, but I'm sure he has a few more Pro Bowls in the future.
All right, it's BJ Raji. We'll continue our conversation with the latest Packer Pro Bowler. We're coming back with more after this in the Huddle from Tanners and Kimberly on the Woodward Radio Network.
Now back to In the Huddle with Bill Scott and Green Bay defensive lineman BJ Raji.
And we are back at Tanners and Kimberly. Good to have you along. No guest on the program this evening. It's just BJ and I going the full distance, and hopefully we'll get somebody back out here next Monday. Game took 3 hours and 44 minutes to play on Sunday, Packers and Lions. Did it seem like that long as a player?
Oh, it definitely did. Yeah. I kind of knew coming into the game it would be a little longer because just obviously if both teams like to throw the ball, there's going to be some incompletions, and naturally the game will run a little longer, but it's definitely an exciting game to watch if you're a fan, and obviously to be a Packer, you came out on top, so you're pretty happy about that.
Well, as good as things were for the offense, defensively, you guys gave up a lot of yards, a lot of points. How do you come out of that thing going into the playoffs now?
You know what? We haven't met as a unit yet, so we'll probably get more into that tomorrow. But I really can't talk specifics on that. But obviously, coming out of a game when you give a lot of yards and points, you're never going to be satisfied with that.
The MO of this team has been to bend but not break,
right,
and to get takeaways.
Right.
You had, I believe, 38 takeaways this season. Your interception total has been outstanding, and in effect, that part of the defense has been able to be enough to help the Packers win football games. So now you just hope that continues. But, you talk to players, defensive players, yourself included, and there's still the hope that, you're not going to go from 32nd to 1st in yardage defense, but there's still the hope that you can improve enough in certain areas to really make a noticeable difference to maybe take a little heat off of the offense.
Definitely. I think, if I can go back to last year, and hopefully I like to think that with the playoffs coming up and, the chance of being eliminated, I think that the sense of urgency picks up, from coaches down to the players, and I think that hopefully with that picking up and you pay more attention to detail, for what it's worth, man, if you were in our meeting rooms, what those guys have to go through as far as, understanding the coverages, we have so many checks and things, so I'm not sure the communication is where it needs to be, but hopefully with the urgency of the playoffs right around the corner, hopefully that picks up, and like you said, we just keep improving week to week, and hopefully we can advance.
I think Mike Ditka said this weekend that basically the NFL has become an offensive passing league, and defenses have no chance. Agree or disagree?
I disagree. I agree with him. If you look back to his '85 Bears team, you line that 4-6 up against our offense. Aaron throws 600 yards, in one game. So I think the game has changed some. Back then, there weren't really 5 wide receivers, and some people say that's arguably the best defense of all time. That '85 Bears defense, and with Richard Denton and those guys and Singletary. But you line them up, stack those guys up against a 5 wide scheme, and I love Mike Singletary to death, but he can cover, a wide receiver or a Jermichael Finley. So, everything's relative, and for that time frame, they were good. But football has definitely changed a lot, and you look at the best teams and scoring offenses in the league, they definitely try to attack you in the air.
How vanilla did you guys get against the Lions on Sunday, knowing perhaps they could be coming back to Lambeau Field in 2 weeks?
Without getting into it too much, we obviously didn't, empty the bag as far as calls, because, once you put something on film, it's there. So I think, Dom does a good job as far as, keeping things when we need them. And who knows, hopefully if we advance, we might see these guys again. So you don't want to give them everything. But I think sometimes it depends how the game's going. In a game like that, I feel bad for Dom at times because when, teams are moving the ball and scoring on you like that, you don't know what to do at that point. So, there's a lot of pressure on him, but hopefully we can help take that off.
Usually you're out there. You make plays. You're a pretty happy guy. You get things done. You enjoy playing the game. But you were seen in the middle of Lambeau Field screaming at the Lions bench on Sunday.
And what I seen?
And my guess is the guy you were screaming at or about have the initials DR. Am I right?
Actually, it was not.
It was not Dominic Raiola.
No, Raiola. To me, I never had any problem with him. He's dubbed a nasty guy, a cheap shot. He had some questionable shots on my teammates, but never on me. I was talking to the right guard.
Okay. I saw a quote in the paper. You didn't want to name the name, but it was the least athletic or basically the worst lineman of the group.
Yeah, was talking about the right guard, man. He somehow, he just, he had the biggest mouth that day, and obviously I'm friendly with my fellow Eagle guys with Cherilus, and like I said, Raiola wasn't him, and Sims is a pretty good guy, so I guess that leaves this guy.
It was pretty apparent about 3 minutes into the game just how valuable Randall Cobb is to this football team.
Definitely. And I love Pat. He obviously, made a big mistake there. And, it was a good experience for him since that he'll learn from that and he'll move on. Thank God it wasn't a meaningful game where, like we talked about, a playoff game or something like that. But, Pat plays hard. He just has to understand his surroundings and know where he is on the field. But, that's generally won't lose you football games, hopefully.
All right, now I got to be, and I'm usually, I wear my emotions on my shirt sleeves, so I got to tell you that was the worst officiated game I've ever seen in my entire life.
Man, I'm not one to criticize the officials, but there were some questionable calls there. But I think those guys, when you get into a game like that and the ball's moving fast and fast, it's funny because, one of our quality control guys, every Thursday, he gets up and talks about the different crews we'll face. And, this crew has a tendency to call a lot of, offensive pass interference or defensive pass interferences. So this crew was a little different. They were kind of everywhere and I guess the game kind of showed that.
Are they too old?
The refs?
Yeah.
You know, you like to think, you know.
I mean, there's young guys in every group, but I mean.
I don't think so. I think.
Do they need their eyes checked?
Some might. Some I can't speak for all of them, but I think, you know, most refs are assigned a different spot. So you know, a lot of the veterans and coaches, they'll go to the, like, you know, especially a team that you play twice a year. Like I went to the refs, they listen. And number 67 shoots his hands high in my face. Just try to keep an eye on that. I mean, that's really all you can do.
Yeah.
You can't really, you know, engulf yourself in that. Hopefully they make the right call.
Do you see replay being tweaked again this year?
I hope not. I mean, it's already, you replay every play now anyway. Every scoring drive is replayed, and I don't see much. What more can they do with it?
Well, how about treating it like the college game treats it? I mean, there were 6 or 7 replays last night, and you hardly noticed them in the Badger game, right?
Right.
You hardly noticed them.
Right.
They were done within a minute.
Right.
And my issue with replay is that the guy who is looking at the play and is the guy that potentially is either A, going to overturn or not overturn, is the referee himself. And in my opinion, these guys don't want to overturn their own calls because it makes themselves look bad.
Yeah.
You know?
I think last year, if I remember correctly, it was a few, you know, questionable calls there. So you can kind of tell the referees would rather spend a little more time on that particular call than to miss call, and ultimately end up probably with a fine from them.
Here's the Lions on a kickoff. They call a fumble.
Right.
He was clearly down. Should have been Lions football. So they go to replay. Schwartz uses his second red challenge flag, and not only did they screw up the call the first time, but then they couldn't get it right looking at the replay. So now Schwartz loses his flag. All right, so he's got no more challenges for the football game. Next offensive series for the Lions, they throw a touchdown pass in the right corner of the end zone. But the way the rule is written, because it was not called a touchdown, because it was ruled an out-of-bounds play,
right,
it was not automatically reviewable like all scoring plays are supposed to be reviewed. There, I think, is going to be one adjustment for next year. In my opinion, you know, it happened to the Lions, so good for, you know, I mean, that's all right. But it's going to happen to you guys sometime.
I hope
you
not.
know, you don't want that to happen, but it's going to. The law of averages will catch up, and it's going to happen. You do not want a scoring play in the National Football League to not be counted.
Definitely.
And because they made the wrong call the previous time, took away his red challenge flag, he couldn't review this one. Lions lose out on a touchdown. So they got problems. They've still got more ironing out to do.
You're pretty sensitive to the subject, Bill.
Well, I've been harping about this subject for a couple of years, and it'll continue. All right, more to come. BJ Raji in the house. We'll be back with more from Tanners and Kimberly after this on the Woodward Radio Network.
Now, back to In the Huddle with Bill Scott and Green Bay defensive lineman BJ Raji.
And we are back. In the Huddle continues from Tanners and Kimberly. It's brought to you by Mole Lake Casino Lodge and Conference Center. Enjoy the excitement of Vegas close to home at Mole Lake Casino Lodge and Conference Center in beautiful Crandon, Wisconsin. Also, transportation for our guests is brought to you by L&S Classic Limousine Service. Personal professional service for all occasions. Call 800-830-5933 for your reservation. Well, BJ Raji was he was in the limelight this afternoon. Actually, he's going to be in the limelight later on, possibly on Sunday, as early as Sunday. But tell everybody what you were doing all day today.
Well, you know, me, Clay, and Aaron were, you know, shooting the new State Farm commercial. You know, kind of, you know, a twist off of Aaron's original one with the discount double check. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty funny, man. I have to admit, I think you guys will like it.
So what's your role?
Well, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the original one, but you know, Aaron comes in, he's a little disturbed about these guys doing this move, but they aren't acknowledging that it's his move. They're calling it, you know, I guess a phrase that State Farm uses. But and you know, the little troll in the window that's yelling like banging on the window. So you know, Aaron comes in with me, and I'm there, and you know, I'm kind of doing the whole discount double check thing, and Aaron walks in just like, you know, BJ, you too? You know, you're supposed to be my teammate. You know, that's my move. And, you know, I kind of act like I'm confused. And then I hit the boom box.
Which you do well, by the way.
Well, I hit the boom box right behind me, and, you know, it starts playing like my jam. And we start dancing in there. And Aaron just looks and turns in disgust and walks away, and the little troll like runs up to the door and is trying to trap him inside, and so he can dance. And then Aaron escapes, and the troll's like chasing him down the street.
And Clay Matthews has
yeah,
one
Clay
too.
actually had to leave to come here, but Clay was still shooting his part. I think he was doing something along the same lines, but more aggressive. I know using his move that he does after he gets a sack.
Mm-hmm. Pretty good. Good stuff. Looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, it should be funny. You'll enjoy it.
So you get the Pro Bowl call last week. Now I get a text from you that said, basically, I'm in the Pro Bowl. I was voted in the Pro Bowl. Now, I'm sure I wasn't the first person you contacted.
Right.
But but I was glad to be contacted. I was actually I was honored by that. That was really cool. So thank you for that.
We have a good relationship, even though sometimes I question your judgment.
I think I'm a little crazy once in a while. Yeah. You're not the only one that thinks that. But obviously, just a great day. How did you find out? What was the process?
Well, I don't know if I'm supposed to say who told me, but I'll just say a little birdie, texted me and actually called me and, let me know. Somebody I respect, and I know was well informed around the league. He called me and let me know to congratulate me. And, I was just honored, because, in a scheme like this, when we're not the Detroit Lions or a team that's just going to use their defensive linemen to get penetration all the time. A lot of times it's, taking up blockers, and kind of just doing what the defense asks you. And, it's nice to know that the people that you're playing against, respect you enough. And because I know great players that I've never, I played against with Cullen Jenkins a bunch of years, and he's never received that honor. So for me to receive that honor, it was very humbling, and became more appreciative, of the guys around me and my coaches.
So what kind of year do you think you had?
Me, I think, to be honest with you, I think I had a good year. I know some people that don't really know the game of football, and you look at our stats, 30 seconds, they'll say, well, wait, he's not deserving. Well, no, the guys that know the game of football, they understand like what my role is, and I feel like if you put my film amongst any defensive tackles and nose tackles in the league, I think my film would stand out to you, and I think that's what happened for me to get in. Yeah.
See, now your numbers stood out almost on a 2 to 3 to 1 level better last year, and you deserved to be there last year.
Right.
And probably the Super Bowl helped you.
Right.
A lot of different things helped you get it this year after you should have been there last year. But your position in particular is more about as you say, the film and not necessarily the numbers.
Right. My coaches, because I go to my coach, confide in him. At times I'm a little frustrated with my numbers and everything, and he always told me that people that know the game of football will understand your impact on the game. And he brought up a stat that if you look at Casey Hampton or Vince Wilfork, guys that are perennial Pro Bowlers and have been in this league 7-8 years. You look at my sack totals. I've surpassed these guys, or right on the cusp of passing them. Only in 2 years it started. So. Some people look at my stats and say, well, they dropped off a little bit, you're having a bad year. If you understand the scheme and how we play defense here, not necessarily.
Now, we're all happy for you.
Definitely.
We definitely don't want to see you go to Hawaii, though.
No, not at all.
Because that means that you wouldn't be in the Super Bowl, and that's the trade-off. But in my opinion, it's still the honor of being looked at by your peers, by coaches, players, and even the fans as the best players at those positions in the league. Would you agree?
Definitely. Like you said, I think the NFL, I actually got my Pro Bowl packet last week, and I was reading it, and they were saying the reason they changed the date from a week after the Super Bowl to a week before is to keep the fans, still into the game, because obviously once the Super Bowl's done, kind of people put, football on the back burner and kind of transition to basketball. So they felt that by moving, the Super Bowl a week prior, people would still be a little festive about the Super Bowl and tune in to watch. But ultimately, I think that, it was a good call, and I think that obviously I would rather be in Indianapolis than in Hawaii.
Now, you were in the huddle, on the field, I believe you were, anyway, when a 15-year-old freshman from Kaukauna High School decided to jump onto the field.
Right.
Parade down one end to the other, and then circle and start to come back. Now, I'm sure, nobody really knew his age at the time.
Right.
Everybody, I'm sure, thought he was somebody that was hammered, when in fact he was, stone sober. What did you think of that?
It was just real fitting for Brad Jones to be the one.
Who, by the way, made his 3rd tackle of the year.
Brad Jones, like a guy that has a lot of personality on the team, and if we were out of football, I could see him doing that to the kids. So the fact that we on the field, it was real fitting. But I felt sorry for that kid. He got a second of cheers, and then he just got demolished.
Now, I just heard this today. I don't know if it's definitely true, but you know how the media are. We like to spread rumors, so I'm going to throw this one out there. Word has it that this individual went to the game with a friend and their mom and dad, and word has it that little parade up and down Lambeau Field cost that family their season tickets.
Really?
That's just what I heard today, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's the gossip going around on the Facebook pages from all the students at Kaukauna High School. So,
I think that's a little severe, but I think ultimately they want to get the point across that's not going to be tolerated. In the middle of a game like that. I mean, thank God it wasn't actually in the play of the game. It was kind of like the kickoff was about to transpire, but I think. I guess whoever's in charge of that penalty, I think they just want to get the message across that that's not going to be tolerated, or perhaps every week you'll see something like that.
Chad Clifton returned to the lineup, 25 snaps roughly on Sunday, looked pretty good. So much so that Mike McCarthy has already named him the starter at left tackle for the first playoff game. Kind of a bummer for Marshall Newhouse, but he really helped win a lot of football games for the Packers, and now you get the veteran back into the playoffs.
Yeah, for Marshall, I'm real friendly with him. I feel him. It's tough, man. When a head guy makes a decision like that, I mean, what are you gonna do? I think Marshall has played some good football. I think Chad has missed 10 games now, so you do the math. I think Marshall's helped us in the majority of our games. I think he's a good player. He's still a young player. Obviously, Chad won't be here forever, and I think that the type of play that he's put on tape. Will ultimately get him signed somewhere and make some decent money, pretty good money, if not here, then somewhere else.
By the way, the Packers with the fewest penalties this season in the league, 76. Fewest penalty yards, 591. It's really been a turnaround from a few years ago.
Definitely. We put a lot of emphasis on that. Coach, in meetings and practice, he's stressing the proper techniques, and like I said earlier, with the fact that understanding what type of crew you have definitely helps as well.
All right, our email segment sponsored by Granite Peak Ski Area is coming up. Back with more in the Huddle from Tanners and Kimberly after this on the Woodward Radio Network.
Now back to In the Huddle with Bill Scott and Green Bay defensive lineman BJ Raji.
And we are back. Time now for our Granite Peak emails segment. Granite Peak Ski Area is gearing up for another incredible season. Snowmaking in full force this week. Check out the great ski packages, and it's not too late to give the gift of winter by purchasing Granite Peak gift cards. Visit one of the great ski destinations in the Midwest. That would be skigranitepeak.com, the location to go online and check out the hours, prices, and ski packages. Back at Tanners and Kimberly, let's head out to our audience and check our email bag with Phil Rothman, who is pinch hitting for Justin Hull tonight. Phil?
Thanks, Bill. In the huddleshow.com is where you can go to submit your questions. We'll start with Rick from Nina. Given the chance, if someone else ever runs on the field, BJ, would you take a shot at tackling them?
If I'm in close proximity and, I can see myself doing it, but I'm not going to go out of my way to tackle a guy. I think we have guys for that.
All right. This is from Gary from Grand Rapids, Michigan. You faced all 4 teams in the wild card weekend. Which one would you prefer to see?
Prefer? I don't know. I think, what are our options? The Giants, Lions, or Falcons, right?
Yeah, technically they couldn't face the Saints because
right.
That would be maybe down the road further. But
well, Detroit, we've swept them twice, so the old cliche, it's hard to beat a team, once you've beaten them a few times. So I'll probably have to go with the Falcons, maybe. They're a dome team, and, they haven't really been tested outside of, in the type of conditions that they'll face. Detroit, like I said, is used to us, and, they might catch us on a bad day or something like that. But, New York is definitely a good team. I think that they gave us all we can handle down there in the Meadowlands. So if I could have to pick, I'd probably pick Atlanta.
Yeah,
and because I like them the least.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
The Dirty Birds, huh?
Did you see what Justin Tuck said about them today?
No.
He called them out. He called them the offensive line out for being dirty. And I can attest to that. You're running to the ball and guys are pushing you and like trying to cut you, when you're not looking. So I'm definitely not a fan of Atlanta Falcons.
Well, I think that's definitely the team that you guys, have handled the easiest over the last 2 or 3 times you've met. I think that's the game that you could easily win. I think the Giants are the one team you don't want to face in the opening round. I think of their opponents, offensive, defensive, pass rush, special teams, I think they're probably one of the hotter teams going in.
Definitely, I think we're aware of that, and they've been Super Bowl champions in the recent history. So we like to think. They have some different changes, but same head coach, same quarterback, and their premier players on defense is roughly the same guy. So they definitely know what it takes, and they won't come in here like in 07. They didn't come in here intimidated. They came here to win a game, and they did it back then. So they're definitely one of the better teams, and they're catching fire at the right time.
Would you say it's a disadvantage or an advantage, or is it really a moot point having seen all these teams before and faced them before?
As a player, anytime you have film on an opponent that particular season, I think that helps you the best because, it's one thing to watch somebody against another team and, another philosophy, but to watch how they try to attack you, and I think this season and with the same personnel and the same philosophies, I think that can help you if you approach it the right way.
All right, this one comes from Vicky from Appleton. She wants to know, are you going to watch all the games this weekend as a fan, or when you watch more other football games, is it hard to not scout your opponent?
I'll leave the scouting to my coaches because I'm sure they're going to be doing that here pretty soon if they didn't start already. But me personally, I'm probably just going to watch, enjoy the games, and enjoy the fact that we made it through a week of the playoffs, and we're hosting a game, and not try to look too much into it. Just last year we were in that position, so it's good to be in this position.
Now, are you a takeout guy? Do you order something for the game?
We're pretty close on the team, so I might head to someone's house if someone's doing anything. But if not, I might go out and watch the game somewhere. Who knows?
All right, this one comes from Lindsay from Madison. She wants to know, what was the biggest bowl game you ever played in? What was the experience like?
Fortunately for my school, we won a ton of games, but everyone knows bowl games are about money. So we didn't travel well as a team. So I remember when we had Matt Ryan in 07, we were like number 2 team in the country. We ended up losing, to Virginia Tech, and we didn't win the ACC championship, and we ended up going to the Champ Sports Bowl. And I'm like, what? The second best team in the league, we should be in a January 1st bowl. And that's when I realized that the traveling fans definitely help. You look at a 6-6 Ohio State team and a 6-6 Florida team playing on New Year's Day. That's kind of unheard of, but their fans travel so well, so they get the nod. But to answer your question, I would have to say probably either the Champ Sports Bowl or the Meineke Carkill Bowl, aka the Toilet Bowl.
All right, this one comes from Aaron in Menasha. Wants to know, what do you think about Manic Monday, Black Monday, coaches getting fired? And as a player, do you feel a sense of failure maybe watching a coach get fired? I don't foresee myself being in that, having to be in that position because Coach McCarthy will probably be here for a long time. But, anytime someone's getting fired, and, I know how much time and effort those guys put in to the game of football, and especially in the offseason with as much as they, you got the combine, you got the Senior Bowl, all this stuff. These guys are, looking to improve their football teams. Even a team like Indianapolis Colts, they're probably working harder than most teams, because they're doing so poorly. So I never really like to see guys get fired like that. And, but this league's about winning, and ultimately, if you don't win, you'll be up.
All right, we'll announce our winner of the ski package pursuit at Granite Peak when we return. Thanks for all the questions. We'll also get BJ's thoughts on last night's Badger Rose Bowl loss to Oregon. He was really talking up the Oregon Ducks. And we'll find out.
This guy right here.
We'll find out what he has to say about the game when we return. Let's pause and break. Back with more from Tanners and Kimberly after this on the Woodward Radio Network.
Now back to In the Huddle with Bill Bill Scott, and Green Bay defensive lineman BJ Raji.
And we continue on this Tuesday night of In the Huddle from Tanner's and Kimberly. Good to have you along with BJ Raji. I'm Bill Scott. Time to find out our winner of the Granite Peak Ski Package. Right back out to Phil Rothman.
All right, thanks, Bill. We're going to go with Lindsay from Madison, the question about the bowl games, because I honestly had forgot that was the situation, and it was kind of interesting to see. Once again, it always comes down to the bottom dollar in college sports.
Definitely.
All right, thank you, Lindsay, and congratulations. You're the winner of a two-night package and 2 days of skiing at Granite Peak in Wausau. Well, one of the questions we didn't get to, but we were talking about during the break, is bonus money. You guys no longer get paid. You are paid basically 1/16th, or is it 1/17th? You get paid on the bye week?
We don't get paid. No,
so you get 16 game checks, and when you get to the playoffs, you no longer draw a salary from the club, but what you do get is every game you play in, you get bonus money, more for the winner than the loser,
right?
And the ability to go on and make more bonus money. Certainly not usually, unless you're a first-year player, not usually what you're normally accustomed to on a week-to-week basis.
Right, definitely. Technically, it's for most teams, it's bonus money, obviously, because teams that are making the playoffs aren't getting it. But like I was telling you, if I'm not going to mention names, it's an embarrassing one, but if you're a top guy on the team as far as salary is concerned, it's weird to say, but that money isn't really scratching the surface of what you receive every week for playing. So, for what it's worth, it's obviously great they have it, but it's not cracked up to what everyone makes it is.
Yeah. Do you? I know, baseball people, NBA people, they have bonuses for every thing on the face of the earth. When they accomplish something, they get paid more money for it. Do you guys have that in your? I mean, making the playoffs, do you get a bonus?
That's where a good agent comes in for you.
Yeah.
That's when you really figure out if the guy that I hired to represent me, because you really hire an agent for that particular reason to negotiate contracts. Because Aaron or Clay or Charles doesn't need an agent to get him endorsements. Their play will do that. I think ultimately you hire an agent for that reason.
For example, a Pro Bowl, for example.
Right, I can talk about mine because that's what I know. For if we won 10 games, I got a bonus. I played. Last year I played. 85% of the snaps. That was a pretty good bonus for me. Obviously, making the Pro Bowl was good, and another goal that we didn't reach was obviously the defensive goal as far as being ranked. I didn't make that, but for the most part in the last 2 years I did a pretty good job in making the goals.
Yeah, good for you. It's interesting stuff. All right, you and I have you're I don't know if you're an Oregon fan, but you kind of gained a new respect for the Badgers offensively last night because you thought they were going to get clobbered last night.
I did. I wasn't rooting for Oregon, but playing against Russell, even because I told you Russell went to NC State. Everyone knows that prior to him coming to Madison, and his freshman year I had to play him in my senior year, so he was a pretty good talent. I didn't think he would turn out to be this good, but he surprised me. But I just felt like all that time off, and just Wisconsin haven't really seen that type of offense. Mm-hmm. They would struggle defensively, they did, but Wisconsin, the Badgers' offense definitely held their end of it, and it was a shame to see the game ended the way it did, because I like to think if Russell had more time, he would have made something happen.
Yeah, I basically, once they got ahead, after it was 14-14, as soon as they got ahead 21-14, I had to quick text you, give you the old go Badgers, because I didn't know if they were going to stay that way.
Right.
So,
especially, I don't know if you're talking about the same play, when the defensive end ran that back, I was like, oh, here we go, gonna bust it open. But Oregon can score quick, and that's why they've been in 3 consecutive BCS bowls.
Yeah, well, I really thought when the Badgers were up a touchdown, and then they were deep in Oregon territory, and that's when Wilson threw the interception.
Right.
They had a chance to go up 1+ score, and it didn't happen.
That kid made a great play. I know if you ask Russell, he'd probably say he shouldn't have thrown the ball, but that kid, it's like he knew the route was coming. He jumped it, made a great play, held on to the ball, and obviously helped Oregon eventually win the game.
All right, the NFL playoffs are obviously here now. Opening round games on Saturday. Cincinnati is at Houston. Houston just, from an injury standpoint, just fell apart with key injuries. Can they beat Cincinnati at home? Who do you like that one?
You know what? I'm gonna go with the upset. I'm gonna pick Cincinnati. You know, it's not like they have Matt Schaub at quarterback, and Cincy's a pretty good defense, and all that pressure is gonna be on T.J. Yates, and I'm not sure if he's ready to handle that type of atmosphere, and Arian Foster's a great back, but I'm not sure he can handle all the load in a big game like that.
Detroit at New Orleans?
I'm gonna go with the Saints. The Saints are just, if I'm going off of what I've seen the last other Monday night game, and Detroit, they really can't hang with them, and fortunately for Detroit, hopefully they can make some changes, but if they don't, I like the Saints big.
Atlanta at New York Giants on Sunday.
Wow, that's probably the toughest matchup for me to pick, but I'm going to go with the Giants. I think the Giants will pull it off back home.
Steelers at Denver.
Without Mendenhall and without Ryan Clark,
yeah,
I'm still going to go with the Steelers.
All right. Packers will get the lowest seed of the teams left. Detroit, Giants, Atlanta. Obviously, we talked about who in that group you wouldn't want to face. The Packers will get a Sunday game, 3:30 kick. That's a week from this coming Sunday, so it's going to be a long time. It's going to seem like a long time, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's a good long time. And we have some guys who need to get rested up, and it's good to be rewarded. You play so hard. You win 15 out of 16. To get a chance to see other people get beat up on each other, and
right,
you get the winner.
Congrats on the Pro Bowl, and we'll see you back here next Monday.
All right, thanks a lot.
BJ Raji in the house. See you next Monday, everybody, in the Huddle from Tanners and Kimberly on the Woodward Radio Network.